Once upon a time, in the small town of Orea, there lived a young man named Adu, known for his easygoing nature and aversion of hard work. Adu was content with his lazy lifestyle. His days were spent on the trees, lounging in shade, napping under the warm sun, and avoiding any form of exertion. While his friends toiled in the field and markets, Adu dreamed of a shortcut to wealth that would make him the envy of all. Adu would sometimes think to himself, I am not brought into this world to suffer and work for nothing. There has to always be a short way, a shortcut to this wealth of a thing. Why do I have to toil in the field and work in the market, all in the name of gathering wealth? No, I can't do that. I'm too perfect for that. I'm quite a handsome young man. Adu's friends will sometimes advise him, saying, it will cost you nothing to work and earn like a real man. What if every other person in this small town sits and lounge like the way you do? What will they eat? And what if your parents don't work? What will you eat? How can you lay about lazy and watch your parents with their old age and aching bone toil in the field and sell in the market? Adu will console himself by saying, well, some of us are just meant to enjoy, while some people are just meant to work for us. There will always be a shortcut to life. And that shortcut, when I find it, my parents will be proud of me and they will not have to work anymore because I would be very rich. One day, as Adu was lazing under a tree, he overheard a conversation among some travelers passing through Orea. They spoke of a mysterious cave hidden deep in the nearby mountains and said to be filled with untold treasures. The catch, however, was that only the boldest and luckiest could find it. On hearing this, greed sparked in Adu's eyes as he saw this as the perfect opportunity to prove to his friends that hard work was unnecessary for success. Adu heard about the dangers laying ahead as these villagers spoke about this hidden treasure. He was frightened as well and then told himself, I can't risk my life for this. This is too much. But at the same time, it is really worth the treasure. I would have to draw out a map and a plan on how to get to this hidden cave. He decided to visit one of his friends, and on his way to his friend's place, he saw a beautiful young maiden who a lot of young men in the community have been sought after her. Ada, who is really beautiful and the only child to her parents, was stopped by Adu. Adu stopped Ada and said, excuse me, young lady, can I have a word with you? Ada, who had heard the news of Adu being the laziest man in town, decided to ignore Adu because he knew such a man literally has nothing reasonable to say. But Adu pursued it and said, young lady, it is you I am talking to, and it is you I would like to have a word with. Finally, Ada stopped and turned and said to Adu, yes, how can I help you? What do you want? Adu responded saying, you are such a beautiful young lady, and as the handsome young man that I am, I would like to know you better. And if it goes well, I might come and ask for your hand in marriage. On hearing this, Ada started laughing. Hey, can you imagine? Ada said. Ada continued and said, you, of all people in this town, stop me, talk about relationship, and you even have the mind, the gut to talk about marriage. Hey, very funny. Have you even fed yourself? Have you taken care of yourself? Your old age parents are there working and feeding you. Have you got no shame? Is that not shameful enough for you? And here you are, talking to me about marriage. How dare you? Maybe when you start working and you earn and you can take good care of yourself and your old age parents, then you can come to me and talk to me. You have no right to stop me. How dare you? Let this be the first and the last time you will ever try this. Ada hissed and walked out on Adu. On hearing this, Adu got angry and told himself, I have to make this money. I have to find this hidden treasure. It is a must. It is a must. And when I do, a little brat like you would not be able to speak to me in such manner. He left in anger and ignoring the warnings of the villagers about the dangers that lay ahead. Adu embarked on his journey to find the fabled treasure cave. Adu decided to return back home to prepare himself for this journey. He packed few things and the crude map he had hastily drawn. Adu decided to stop by his friend Aku's house to tell him about this treasure that he is going on a hunt with, and to see if his friend Aku would come with him so they can both retrieve this treasure. Adu got to Aku's house, explaining everything he had heard about this hidden treasure and what he intends to do about it to Aku, and how he had been ridiculed by the young maiden called Ada. On hearing this, Aku started laughing. Adu, my friend, always looking for the shortcut. Are you really going to go after something you heard from villagers? How true is this said cave? How are you sure it is where they said it is? Why didn't these villagers themselves go there to retrieve it? It is just mere fables. And also, if you can put yourself through this much stress, why don't you start with just working on the farm and put in the same energy and see how you will get results, rather than looking for a shortcut to get wealth? Adu, we have spoken to you about this so many times. Adu, who was already angry and furious, lashed at his friend Aku, saying, Aku, forget about that. I have told you I'm not meant for the field or the market. I've told you there's always a shortcut to life. If you're not going to come with me, that's fine. I will go by myself. That's fine. You don't need to come with me. I will go by myself. And when I retrieve this treasure, I'll make sure I give you nothing from it. Aku stormed out angry. Armed himself with the crude map, he stormed through thick forest and treacherous terrains, driven solely by the promise of quick riches, toiling day and night just to find this said cave. After 10 days of little water and food, eventually he reached the entrance of the cave. Adu was so happy, the happiest man on earth at that moment. Nothing can come in between him and his treasures now. On arriving at the entrance of the cave, Adu jumped for joy, screamed for joy, and said, finally, I knew it. I knew I could do this. I knew it. None of them believed me. They thought I was foolish. They thought I was running out of my mind. Here it is. The cave. I knew it was there. I knew there's always a shortcut. Its darkness concealed both its secrets and potential perils. Adu made his way into the cave, and inside the cave, Adu discovered glittering jewels, chests of gold, and piles of precious artifacts. His heart raced with excitement as he filled his pocket and bag with as much wealth as he could carry. He couldn't wait to return to Oria and flaunt his newfound riches to his friends. However, as Adu made his way out of the cave, he noticed the ground started rumbling and crumbling beneath him. Suddenly, Adu heard a loud noise coming from the cave, saying, "Put it back. Put it back. You are a lazy man who does not deserve anything. Put it back. On hearing this, Ado trembled, panic set in, and then he realized that his pursuit of easy wealth had triggered a catastrophic reaction with the supernatural beings in the cave. The cave, unable to withstand the disturbance caused by his greed, began to collapse around him. In a desperate attempt to escape, Ado sprinted and ran towards the entrance, but he was being weighed down by the ill-gotten wealth he had gathered in his bag, trying to run with it, and the ones in his pocket, trying to run with it, but it was weighing him down and pulling him back. Rocks trembled, and the ground shook violently as he narrowly avoided falling rocks. Ado, who was torn between leaving the bag of gold and jewels behind and saving his life, or trying to forge ahead with it, decided that it is better to live to fight another day than dying here, as no one in Oria would come for his body. Ado quickly dropped the bag of gold, emptied his pocket, and ran towards the entrance. On seeing the daylight, he thanked God. He looked back to see the once hidden cave now reduced to rubble and rocks. Breathing heavily, Ado realized the harsh truth. He had traded artwork for destructive pursuit of quick richness. The wealth he had sought was nothing more than a temporary illusion, and the consequences of his actions left him with nothing but regrets. Ado had no choice than to return back to the village. Ado, who had had very little food and water to drink and eat in the past 10 days. On his arrival, he was looking tattered and skinny, more like a madman, and people couldn't recognize who he was. He found himself in the center of the village, the market square. He fell to his knees and started weeping. And his friend, Aku, on seeing him, was surprised and shocked. Ado, we thought you were dead. Thank the gods you are alive. Where have you been for the past 10 days? Ado explained all of his ordeal and what he had encountered at the cave. Everyone who was in the village square shook their head in disbelief that Ado could put himself through all that just to get quick wealth. But he can't put himself through the same stress just to make ends meet here in the village. Aku, being a good friend that he is, took him home, made sure he had his bath, and fed him. Ado, who soon realized and understood that all that glitter is not gold. The town learned a very valuable lesson from Ado after that day. A cautionary tale of a lazy young man who, in his pursuit of shortcuts, brought about his own downfall. Ado made up his mind to start working after his experience from the cave and putting all of his energy and hard work into making something meaningful with his life and time. And that was how Ado continued his life in Oria town. Guys, always remember that ill-gotten wealth doesn't last, and there is no shortcut to life. Thank you.